The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon.
I have a dream today.
Change has come to America.
Believe me.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
Democratic Party officials have rejected requests from Fox News to moderate one of the Democratic presidential debates. Party chairman Tom Perez is citing a story in the New Yorker magazine referencing this channel's relationship with President Trump. The story alleges this channel has become a, quote, propaganda vehicle for the president. Perez said in a statement, Fox News, quote, is not in a position to host a fair and neutral debate for our candidates. Here is a statement from Fox News senior vice president and managing editor Bill Salmon, quote, we hope the DNC will reconsider its decision to bar Chris Wallace, Bret Baier, and Martha McCallum, all of whom embody the ultimate journalistic integrity and professionalism, from moderating a Democratic presidential debate. They're the best debate team in the business, and they offer candidates an important opportunity to make their case to the largest TV news audience in America, which includes many persuadable voters.
Finally! Hallelujah, 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 mofos. Oh my God, finally, somebody's going to call out Fox News for being a propaganda network. So now, apparently, the only time that Democratic candidates will appear on Fox News will be in these unflattering photos that they like to get with mocking captions, while Tucker Carlson tells lies about them, right?
You may have learned in school that the hallmark of an authoritarian regime is banning books. Remember when all the librarians, mostly liberal, would have banned book week? These are all the books the bad guys don't want you to read. Here they are. And they had a point. The Inquisition burned books. So did the Nazis. Corrupt regimes everywhere fear the free exchange of ideas, and they won't tolerate it if they don't have to. The best sign of America's strength is that we are, and we have always been, different. We don't fear and suppress other people's ideas, even if they are offensive or unpopular. We combat them with better ideas. That's how we've always been.
Not always.
That is changing fast.
It is.
Increasingly, the norm in America is that some people shouldn't be allowed to speak and some views are not allowed. Judge Amy Jackson, who is an actual judge, is now threatening Roger Stone with prison time because he wrote a new introduction to his book that says unflattering things about Robert Mueller. That is now a crime, according to Judge Amy Jackson.
Oh, wow. Amy Berman Jackson is now a Nazi, according to Fox News, because Roger Stone put up a Instagram page with her face next to crosshairs, or a Celtic cross. Take your pick, white supremacist, whatever suits you. And he's left out the whole part about the gag order, because Roger Stone is trying to taint a jury pool, and that Roger Stone appeared in court and, apologized for the crosshairs and neglected to tell the judge that he would, in spite of the gag order, be on Instagram, be on Twitter, be on social media, promoting a new book where he was going to trash the prosecutor who's prosecuting him. And in Fox News speak, this is, somehow Roger Stone's free speech is being, tread upon. Really, I mean, so why would we want to debate on Fox News? Why? Why in the world? What Fox News, what are they going to do? They're going to put all the Democratic candidates on stage with crosshairs over their faces? I mean, what are they going to do? Or are they going to pick the one they like, and that one won't have crosshairs and the other ones will? Or, what are we going to do? Bring back Megyn Kelly so she can ask about calling women pigs and stuff like that? I mean, I don't understand. I'm not really sure why we should endorse the propaganda channel why not? Fox News is so bizarre. I just played you, remember the Benghazi, Bret Baier, all of a sudden, his hands are clean. He's a real journalist. He made his bones by trashing Hillary Clinton and blaming her for the deaths of 4 people in Benghazi, Libya. This went on. In 2012, Hillary Clinton took responsibility for what happened in Benghazi. In 2015, 3 years later, it was still going on. Fox News wouldn't let it go. They were accusing her of everything from personally murdering these people to being negligent, to being a moron, to being culpable. To being, you name it, they said it. And, so why would we go on that why would Democrats not say it's a pure propaganda channel? Well, Donald Trump tweets this. I mean, it's so much winning, everybody. So much winning. He tweeted last night, Democrats just blocked at Fox News, because this is a normal president, right? Normal presidents tweet at Fox News. They do that. Now, Democrats just blocked at Fox News from holding a debate. Good. Then I think I'll do the same thing with the fake news networks and the radical left Democrats in the general election debates. Sir, can I just point out that you have absolutely the right to show up or not show up, but that the debate commission is a, believe it or not, bipartisan commission, and you can decide whether or not you want to show up or you want to shoot yourself in the foot and miss a presidential debate. And somehow, I think, with the level of Adderall usage where it is right now, it's like, right up, I think he's doing it up the yin. I really do. Either that straight to the vein. I mean, the sweatiness, the ranting, the raving. But, if he doesn't want to show up, that's fine. But why is it that the president's, a reaction, any perceived slight is, well, then I'll destroy everything? Why is that? Everything he touches turns to, death. Everything he touches, dies. Thank you, Rick Wilson. And, it's just like so unbelievable to me that, he's now threatening. Look, there is no way we will debate on Fox, okay?
Well, there were two North Stars, Chris, as we have been preparing for these debates. Number one, I want to make sure that as many people as possible see our candidates, because I believe that our views, our vision command the respect of the majority of the American people, including people who watch Fox News. Republicans, Democrats, independents have pre-existing conditions and believe that they ought to be able to keep their health care, including people who watch Fox News. So we reached out to all the media outlets, including Fox News, as we were preparing for these debates. Our second North Star principle in these debates is to make sure that whichever network runs them ensures that our candidates are treated fairly. Now, you had the video before of Chris Wallace. I have great respect for Chris Wallace, and my concern is not about Chris Wallace. It's about people above Chris Wallace, because what we have seen now, and it's been really most recently now in the New Yorker story, is that at the highest levels of Fox News, they're not playing it straight. And again, this isn't about Chris Wallace. I have respect for him. But I do not have the confidence that we need to take such an important part of the nomination process, these debates, and trust them to folks who at the top levels are consulting Donald Trump before they do anything. I couldn't do that.
No, you can't do that. And I wouldn't apologize for it. I would simply say they are a propaganda network, that the entire day's programming, beginning with Fox and Friends, going through to Hannity and Tucker Carlson, and that is a pure, when they set up Fox Nation, which is their new digital effort, they only included the opinion hosts. They only included the Lala Ingrams. They only included the Sean Hannitys and the Tucker Carl. They didn't include the Chris Wallaces or what's his name? The one that came out of the closet that I was at the party with. I always forget his name. Shepard Smith. Shep for all you people that have ever been to a party with him. Yeah, Shep is what I call him. Hi, Shep. How you doing? Boy, those Fox girls certainly look like they're, spray painted. I mean, they do. They look like they're airbrushed. It's very sick. And they have all these girls that are barely 18 serving drinks in very skimpy outfits, because that is the environment at Fox News. I bet Lala Ingram is really proud that she's associated with that. She was at that party too. I'll never forget it. Light blue, Vivienne Westwood, stunning dress. Like gorgeous. Like really, really gorgeous. And she's little, so she can wear anything. She has no boobage to worry about. Nothing has to cross Grand Tetons, right? She's got perfect little martini glass ones, and that's after children. So kudos to you. Nice going. But I believe that's because she lives on a pure white wine diet. I don't think anything besides white wine ever passes those lips. I don't think she does any other carbs except the ones that are in the white wine, which is sugary. But she was wearing this gorgeous dress. I went over to her and I said, wow, that is just really beautiful. I know who you You get out of my face. Just drunk as a monkey, probably trying to drink herself out of the idea that she works for a network that was, sexually harassing women by the dozens. Just saying, why would we go on that network? Why would we? You've got Bill Shine, who is the White House communications director, who is a straight line to Fox News because he used to be like the CEO of Fox News. I mean, who would do such a thing? Who would say, yeah, that's a good place? It makes no sense. And it's about time that we who care about a press that is free of lying, we who care about a press that is propagandizing the American people, look, they only have on a very good day, these shows have 3 million viewers. Why it's worth all this money to them, I can't tell you, okay? I can't. But they love it. They do it every single day. It's full of crap. But you know what? It would be like the military channel hosting the Pulitzer Prizes, or it's not a good fit. It'd be like the military channel hosting the Nobel Peace Prize. That's how bizarre us going on Fox is. It's like, why doesn't BET offer to host the Republican debates and see how far that idea goes? You see what I mean over here? It's not a good fit. Let Univision or Telemundo host, the presidential debate on immigration reform. You know what I mean? It's not a good fit. It's like if I were, accepting the Pulitzer Prize, I don't expect that it's going to be carried on the Cartoon Channel. Not a good fit. So good. I'm glad that we spoke up. I'm glad that we sent a message that you can't have the White House communication acting. They're all acting. Acting. Yeah, you can't have that. You can't put us on a channel that values this.
But first, we turn to a fake political storm that is brewing in Washington.
Look at that.
As we turn tonight to Hannity Watch on the hate Trump mob in Washington. Now, as we predicted, House Democrats, they are waging a political war on any and all things Trump through a seemingly never-ending series of absurd investigations.
Benghazi!
The widest net ever cast among several key committees, as a matter of fact, up to 8. And now that their 2-year fantasy to impeach the president over Russia collusion, well, now that that is proven false and falling by the wayside,
what?
Rather than doing the honest thing, admitting they were wrong, apologizing.
For what?
Nope. No acknowledgement. Just move on to the next conspiracy, the next lie, the next attempt to do.
Benghazi! Tiller the baby killer. He actually ended up dead, all right? Ended up shot and killed. You had a guy drive to North Carolina to the Comet Pizza Place and Ping Pong Parlor to shoot up the damn place because you told your audience there, you told the Cult 45 members, you told the white supremacists that Hillary Clinton was running a pedophile. You blamed a dead boy, Seth Rich, for being the actual hacker of the DNC after he was dead. I mean, come on, people. Smarten up. It makes no sense to me that we would not call them out as being what they are, and that is a complete and utter fake news, faux news. Fox, F-O-X, one vowel movement away from what it does to the news, and say to them, no, sorry, not gonna do it.
All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
So much winning. Can you stand it?
Aaron Applegate has worked at the GM plant for 11 years. Today was his last shift.
A little worried.
A little worried?
A lot worried.
In GM speak, Lordstown has been unallocated, meaning the Chevy Cruze that rolls off the line this week is the last car they're making here. The last of 16 million vehicles since it opened in 1966, and it's the largest of the 4 plants in the U.S. where GM plans to stop production this year. More than 3,300 hourly workers will be laid off indefinitely.
Great.
That's 7% of GM's approximately 50,000 hourly employees nationwide. The cuts come as the automaker is reporting a near record $12 billion profit last year.
Perfect.
Are you bitter?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Aaron brought his wife, Jean Ann, and his 4 children here 11 years ago after his employer in Indiana shut down.
I definitely, parts of me are very bitter. What makes you bitter is the fact that they're making profit year after year after year now.
Hello.
And we're not seeing that back. It's not as simple as a number.
But GM employees are a number because they don't care. I mean, you're replaceable.
GM is offering some workers transfers to other plants, and Applegate can apply, but it's complicated. His children include 13-year-old Austin, who has cerebral palsy, needs special care, and is slated for spinal surgery at the end of the month. GM health insurance is key.
With my youngest son, he needs that.
He has great nurses that have been with him for years, that know him, that know how to treat his seizures.
We wanted to know what they would tell GM CEO Mary Barra, whose ordered cuts come in response to market demand for big trucks and SUVs.
For her to think that she can play God and do whatever she wants to do with any GM family is wrong.
It is wrong. It's disgusting. $12 billion in profits, and they're still shutting down their plant. Donald Trump said that the reason why this was happening was because we had stupid people doing our trade deals. We had stupid people, right? We had hacks. He called Obama's team that took us from the brink of a Great Depression. I mean, if you lost your house in 2008, if you lost your 40% of your 401k, it was a Great Depression. It was. If you didn't, it was just a recession, a deep and biting recession. And, he took us from the brink. He inherited. I remember when Obama was elected, I said, why would anybody want to be president now? Look at the mess these Republicans make. Yeah, Bill Clinton, who gave us a great economy, an expanding economy, 22 million new jobs. You had, the most incredible, it was the economy stupid. He ran on it. He fixed it, whatever. And then you had Bush come in and destroy it. Just literally destroy it. And now Obama's got to clean up it's the same thing. And Obama used to say, it's like they asked for the keys to the car. The car was in great shape. They asked for the keys to the car. They drive the car off the cliff, and then they say to you, we want the keys back. After you fix the car. No. Ridiculous. So much winning. We have these plants closing. We got layoffs all over the place. We have the trade deficit is at a 10-year high. The deficit is the highest it's ever been in the history of the United States of America. Immigration is ticking up, even though, it's like the budget deficit, the trade, they're the highest in history. This man will forever be remembered as the president who made America go deficit, like deficit, dumb and blind. That's what he was able to do to this country. It's just so unbelievable. He took $322 billion out of the economy with these tax cuts for the wealthy. Why? Because you lost a whole bunch of deductions that you used to get, especially in high tax states with sales tax and state tax and things capped now at 10 grand. And people lost $322 billion worth of tax cuts that we used to get, right? Where is his middle-class tax cut? The man is he's such a fraud. He's such a failure. He's such a liar. And then he takes all this money out of the economy with this trade war that, we're $1 trillion and growth in this country is 2.3%. He promised us 4 or 5, right? Because they were hacks. The Obama people. Hacks, I tell you, right? He hires like the absolute worst people. He promotes the worst, in a weird way. We should be very grateful that Donald Trump isn't a progressive, because he would have just, ruined every single progressive idea by messing it up the way he ruined every single conservative idea. We should be very grateful that he is who he is and that he's on the side that he's on. I mean, it is just such a mess, the whole freaking thing. Listen, Sherrod Brown, who is from Ohio, he's not running for president, maybe next time. But Sherrod Brown was on the Senate floor last night talking about all this winning and how, the tax code, this is the only legislative victory that Trump has. And it cost us $322 billion to support the transfer of wealth from us to them, the rich, cost us $322 bill, and the deficit increased by almost $1 trillion, and we have to pay the interest on that. So we're subsidizing the wealthy in two different ways. Just so you can, wrap your brain around this big stuff. It's really very basic. It cost us to transfer the wealth to them from us. That is a racket. That is really quite a racket. I mean, it's just breathtaking in its evilness. But, Sherrod Brown went on the floor and explained it very, very, very simply yesterday. Wait, where is that? Huh? Oh, wow. Why is it all the way up there? Okay.
We see the rich are getting richer and the rich getting richer and richer. We see the middle class in New Hampshire and Ohio and Nebraska get squeezed over and over and over again. We see what's happened to this country. We see lobbyists coming down the hall into Senator McConnell's office, the Republican leader, writing tax bills. You know what? You know what that tax law that President Trump wanted, that he signed? You know what it does? It says if a company shuts down in Lordstown, Ohio, which it's done, General Motors, this week, 4,500 people have lost their jobs.
Great.
They pay a tax rate of 21%. You know what? Under the Trump tax law, they can move south of the border and they pay a tax rate of 10.5%. So in other words, they get a 50% off coupon. Companies that shut down production in Omaha or in Manchester or in Cleveland and move overseas, they get a 50% off coupon on their taxes. That's what these fights are about. These fights are about the special interests that run this Senate, the companies that outsource, and the drug companies and Wall Street. Heck, Madam President, the White House looks like a retreat for Wall Street executives.
It certainly do. It certainly do, Sherrod. Too bad you're not running for president because, as far as the heartland goes, you get it. You totally get it. This is madness. This is mass madness, you maniacs, you. I really think that the maggots ought to start wearing paper bags over their head and shave. But, then I thought about that. I thought that would be interesting punishment for them. But then I realized you don't want Trump supporters wearing anything over their heads. It's not a good thing. But, I mean, everything this man does backfires. So let's just be very happy that he never embraced any progressive ideas, because the fastest way to destroy a really good idea is to have Trump advocate for it. And that, that would just blow. So I got to tell you, these layoffs are just the tip of the iceberg. I can't understand where the Republicans are on this. How do they expect to get reelected? I mean, this is crazy. This is madness. And they keep on. And, these investigations into the president are they're producing crimes. Paul Manafort right now is in court in a green jumpsuit in a wheelchair, getting sentenced for defrauding the United States of America. He's getting sentenced for tax fraud and tax evasion and money laundering and, inventing how to launder money. And pretty much then next in 2 weeks, he goes to another court and he'll get sentenced on another batch of crimes in a green jumpsuit and a wheelchair. I mean, come on. Where are they on, all these best people that Trump hired, Rob Porter, he was beating his wives, right? Michael Flynn, he pled guilty. Michael Cohen, he pled guilty. Paul Manafort is wearing a green jumpsuit and a wheelchair right now, begging for leniency in front of a freaking federal court. Rick Gates cooperated and turned state's evidence against his partner, Gates. Dan Coates is thinking about getting the hell out of there. Kelly is out. McGahn is out. Tom Price, he was forced out because he was corrupt. Gary Cohn, he was forced out because he said these trade policies of yours are going to produce an even greater trade deficit. We're going to lose. We're going to lose this trade. What's wrong with you, sir? I can't do it. Can't do it. So he brought in TV economist Larry Kudlow to sell it to you. I mean, this is unbelievable. Rick Perry is in charge of our nuclear arsenal. What could go wrong there? All the best people. Spicer is out. Hope Hicks is out. She went back to work for Fox News. But we should debate on Fox News. Bill Shine is now the new Hope Hicks. She went to Fox, and he came from Fox. That's quite a revolving door of propaganda. Jared and Ivanka, they got security clearances over the objection of the security community, over the objection of law enforcement, over the objection of the CIA, for God's sakes, the intel community. Where's Whitaker? He was our second attorney general. Where's Sessions? He was our first attorney general. We got a third one now who says he's best friends with Bob Mueller. I just don't understand. Mattis is out. McMaster is out. He's not running an administration. He's running manpower. He's running a temp agency. It's like Kelly Girls over there. What is this? This is not a government. You got the Secretary of Labor, Alex Acosta, who is now going to get dragged into this Jeffrey Epstein case because he's the one that made the sweetheart deal for a guy who molested and human trafficked underage girls for God knows how many years. We have over 80 girls who have said that they were part of this human trafficking ring. You had an argument yesterday in the Second Circuit Court of Appeals asking to have those records of Jeffrey Epstein and the defamation cases that were brought and settled by the girls. The girls themselves were defamed by, they were called liars, they were called crazy by the likes of Alan Dershowitz, and they sued for defamation and they won, but those court records are sealed. And so you have an appeals court hearing the case because the lower court said, no, we should keep it sealed. And, this consortium of journalists have said, absolutely not. This is ridiculous. You're talking about human trafficking of underage girls all around the world. The Virgin Islands, London, Paris, all around the world. What the hell? No, unseal those damn records. And our labor secretary was the prosecutor that said, just plead to prostitution charges in the state. That way you avoid the whole federal thing. And gave him 13 months in a private wing of the Palm Beach County Jail and allowed him to go home every morning and stay out of jail all day and come back at night. That's what Jeffrey Epstein was given. And he's our labor secretary. And by the way, the Labor Department is in charge of human trafficking. This is just some scam they got. You got Shulkin at the VA. He's out. It's a temp agency. We've had the White House communications director slot filled 6 times. Deputy National Security Advisor, 5 different people. National Security Advisor and Health and Human Services Secretary, 4 of them. Attorney General, White House Chief of Staff, 3 times each. Secretary of State Defense and Press Secretary twice. And a rotating roster of defense attorneys. The Republicans have no problem with any of this. In fact, you want to hear something really sick? Manu Raju went to the Senate and interviewed a whole bunch of GOP senators and asked them why they're not interested in just one little basic fact that we now have. You could take it to the bank fact that Michael Cohen lied about the payments to the president's mistresses, whatever you want to call them, during the election and made those payments from the Oval Office as president of the United States. Now, remember, these are the same people that wanted Bill Clinton impeached because when they shut down the government back in the day, the White House staff was let go because the government was shut down. So you had people come from different places, and Monica Lewinsky was working at the Department of Defense. She was working at the Pentagon, and she went to be an intern at the White House during the shutdown, and they fell in love, or at least she did. And Bill Clinton said, don't tell anybody. They considered that suborning perjury. So they went ahead and impeached him. Remember that? Went ahead and impeached him. Now we have a situation where, and this is the only similarity between Bill Clinton, because the other crimes we're talking about are foreign governments, we're talking about hacking, we're talking about receiving the stolen material, fencing the stolen material, maybe even paying for the stolen material, using the stolen material. We're talking about the president's son hosting the Russian government attorneys, who was, best friends with the prosecutor in Russia, Yuri Chaika, this Natalia Veselnitskaya, and we're talking about Ike Kavaladze being at the meeting with Jared Kushner, who the intelligence community said should never get a security clearance, and the president pressured Kelly and pressured Don McGahn to give it to him anyway over their objection, and they wrote contemporaneous notes saying, we said no. We said no. Jared Kushner's in debt up to his eyeballs. CIA gets it. Law enforcement gets it. We get it. We don't want to give him a security clearance. They say, Trump said we have to, so we're going to make a note here. Both of them, Kelly and McGahn, White House counsel and White House chief of staff, both made a note. Same thing with Ivanka, okay? All this is going on. But all they asked the senators about was this one fact that we have, and that is that Michael Cohen received checks written by the President of the United States in the Oval Office while he was president. Shouldn't you be looking at the payoffs? Shouldn't you be looking at it? These are the Republican senators' answers.
Do you think that the Senate Judiciary Committee should look into this payment that was made by the president to silence these alleged affairs, payment that he made as president, according to Michael Cohen? Should that be something the Senate Judiciary Committee should look into?
It wouldn't be on my top 5, and I'll tell you why.
Because you're from the South?
I think both the U.S. Attorney in New York and Mr. Mueller are looking at it. My guess is, and I think it's a good guess, Mr. Cohen has already talked repeatedly with the Mueller investigation, and maybe in the Southern District of New York. He's given them all that. I'd prefer to just go ahead and let them draw their own conclusions.
Senators, do you think the Judiciary Committee should look into the hush money payments the president was involved in?
Possibly at some point, but I don't have any comment right now. I don't know enough about it. Okay. Yeah, excuse me.
She's walking back.
Being involved in the hush money payment scheme, including in office and paying back Michael Cohen when he was president. Do you have any concerns about that?
You always ask me questions that I haven't studied. So I can't
You haven't
That's
studied
been
it?
dominating the news over the past week.
I must watch a different channel than you do.
Do you think the Senate
Holy
Republicans
crap.
have an obligation to look into, say, the hush money payments that the president was involved in the White House?
You know, this is their plan all along. It's basically going to preclude our ability to pass any kind of bipartisan legislation because they're just sucking up all the oxygen. This is all about setting up the stage for impeachment proceedings. That's pretty clear.
But why is it not a concern of yours that the president may be involved in a hush money scheme?
That he did an impeachable
There's been
thing.
investigations by the special counsel and others. If there's any evidence of crimes, I'm sure he will find evidence of that. But
Can't
if
say
there's not,
disclose,
I think
huh?
what the Democrats are worried about now is that after all of the hysteria over the alleged collusion, that they're worried the Mueller report will come up with basically nothing against the president.
Wait a minute. Did these clowns all come in the same clown car? That's all I want to know. Do you read a newspaper, Chuck Grassley? Do you? I must watch a different channel. I'm not aware of that. What? Michael Cohen just gave a congressional test. What is wrong with that? I mean, you got Sessions, Porter, Flynn, Cohen, Manafort, Gates, Dan Coates is probably, Kelly, McGahn all resigned. Tom Price, Gary Cohen left, Spicer, Hope Hicks left, Jared, Ivanka, the clearance issue. Don't you think that's an issue for the Senate to take up? National security question like that? Whitaker is gone. You confirmed. It's just like unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Mattis is gone. McMaster is gone. Kelly, Alex Acosta, your labor secretary, might be implicated in a human trafficking ring. No, we don't think we need to look into any of that. We just we don't think that we do. We want to do bipartisan legislation. Really? Because yesterday Mitch McConnell said he wouldn't do H.R. 1. He wouldn't do it.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randy, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
Oh, so John Cornyn over there says that even though Michael Cohen has produced 11 checks, he's produced them. 11 checks. 11. That were written by the President of the United States while he was President of the United States to pay Michael Cohen off for lying about payments to Stormy Daniels and Karen McDougal, right? We have the document. They're not concerned because John Cornyn says, we want to do bipartisan legislation. Mitch, are you into that? Are you into some bipartisan legislation? Because HR 1 is an awesome package. Okay, it takes the dark money out of politics. It allows for registration same day. It will extend voting rights to each and everybody. It takes reporting requirements to people who give more than 10 grand. I mean, it's just a beauty of a bill. It's a really democratic, small d, democratic, open the floodgates to people having access to the ballot type of a piece of legislation. So are you in? You want to do that? You want to do a bipartisan piece?
You're making Election Day a federal holiday.
A federal holiday for Election Day.
Businesses to make it also a holiday and bring out people to the polls. Why is incentivizing people to vote?
Well, what is the problem? We had the biggest election turnout since 1966 last year. If the idea here is to make it more likely we have a higher turnout, it seems to me that's happening. What affects turnout more than anything else is interest and competition.
And?
Spending in races, for example. The more money that's spent in a race, the higher the turnout. The less money is spent, the lower the turnout. We got a lot of federal holidays in America. I personally don't see any point in having any more.
Corporations are people, my friend.
And where is Mitt on all this? Yeah, HR 1 would make a federal holiday. You could vote, instant registration. You get a driver's license. You're registered. You could opt out of the registration. I don't want to vote. You could say, I don't want to be registered. Whatever you want. Makes felons who have completed their sentencing requirements as set forth by the courts eligible to participate in their own world again, especially after nonviolent offenders. I mean, they're not allowed to vote for the rest of their lives. It's so stupid. It's stupid. Mitch McConnell uses 1966 as his benchmark. Every time there's a high voter turnout, that means that people get civil rights, Can't have that. Can't have that. So Mitch McConnell is against it. So why is Cornyn saying that he's all about doing bipartisan stuff? Mitch McConnell will. I told you the Green New Deal is not complete. It's being drafted now, and Mitch McConnell says he'll put that up for a vote. He'll put the Green New Deal because it's not written, it's not done, but he won't do HR 1, right?
You're opposed to HR 1. You're also opposed to the Green New Deal. Why is the Green New Deal getting a vote in the Senate when HR 1 is not?
Because I get to decide what we vote on.
Screw you. Yeah. So you have people in this country who don't realize that one man on this planet decides what the Senate will vote on. I mean, you don't even have a bipartisan rules committee that says that, if enough people want to vote on it, then they can in this democracy. Oh, hell no. Mitch McConnell decides what gets on the floor and what doesn't get on the floor. And he's not into any bipartisan legislation with regard to voting rights, with regard to dark money or getting the money out of campaigns. No, he's not interested in that because he likes it just the way it is. Now, I will tell you that Chuck Schumer wanted to know why their leader argues against more Americans being able to vote.
Republican leader opposes H.R. 1, which, among other things, would make Election Day a federal holiday and attempt to get big money out of politics.
Bad thing.
Leader McConnell has gone to call these ideas a power grab, labeling the bill the Democratic Politician Protection Act. Leader McConnell, we are proud that we want more people to vote. Why are you ashamed of it? Why do you run away from it? Leader McConnell, we are proud that we want to get the influence of big special interest money out of politics. Why do you say that's partisan?
Why?
It's the wrong thing to do, and 90% of all Americans, Democrat and Republican, don't like to see big money cascading into politics. Argue the merits, leader.
Yeah.
When you think doing those things are democratic things, we're proud. And the Republican Party should be ashamed that they're not for them.
They have no shame.
And have to call them names.
Right.
To say that allowing more Americans to vote, getting big money out of politics is bad for Republicans and good for Democrats, that says a lot right there. It's a dark day for the Republican Party if their leader in the Senate has to argue against more Americans voting because it would hurt their party at the polls. Maybe we should go back to the old days and have fewer people vote. 1789, only white male Protestant property owners. Come on. This idea that having more people vote is a democratic power grab when it's part of the fundamental root of our democracy, it's an act of desperation by the Republican leader. I don't think it's a coincidence that the Republican leader is pledged to bring up his version of the Green New Deal for a vote, but not H.R. 1. He's happy to twist words against it himself, but he knows voting rights are a hard thing to argue about. And if he wants to try to bring it up on the floor, we welcome it. Welcome a discussion. So make no mistake, Democrats are going to fight to make the ballot access easier, challenge all attempts to disenfranchise American citizens, and get the influence of big special interest money out of politics.
It's what we want. It's what every American, if you asked any American if they think that one guy being able to give $30 million to a candidate or to a party is a good idea, or if you asked somebody if they felt that they had a seat at the table when legislation was being crafted, they would say no. But if you asked anybody on K Street, anybody at all, if they felt that they had a seat at the table when legislation was crafted, they would say, absolutely we do. In fact, sometimes we write it ourselves and we just hand it to the senator and he introduces it. And all we need is a president with enough intelligence to hold a pen and sign it. But ask any ordinary American, ask a guy in Lordstown today, ask a guy who works for General Motors in Indiana or did, ask a guy who worked in Youngstown, Ohio at the General Motors plant or did, if they feel that they had a say, if they felt that they had a seat at the table when tax laws were being crafted, tax laws that give a 50% off coupon, or say a $1 trillion company like Amazon pays no effect. I mean, their effective tax rate is zero. Or that corporations went from 35% to 21%, and your tax bill went up in order to subsidize that tax break. Did you have a seat at the table when that was being decided? They'll say no. But if you ask a tax lobbyist on K Street, did you have a seat at the table when that was crafted? They say, of course we did, or else we wouldn't be a lobbyist on K Street currently employed. We'd be fired. We would be fired from Greenberg Traurig. We would be fired from Dick Steen Shapiro. We would be fired from Jones Day. We would be fired from, Williams and Connolly. We'd be fired. We have to be effective, and we lobby on the tax code. That's the most lobbied piece of legislation. It's ridiculous. And they like it just the way it is. McConnell is going to block even a vote, even a debate, not even a vote, a debate. He won't even have anybody, talk about the merits of HR. And HR 1 is such an awesome bill because everything that you care about, whatever your issue might be, whether it's climate change and fossil fuels, or it's the tax code, or it's trade and, people going overseas to avoid this or that is, part of the U.S. regulation or whatever. I promise you, you have no seat at the table. And the well-moneyed, well-heeled, not white shoes, but the Gucci loafered lobbyists who are at Charlie Palmer's right now. It's 4:55 Eastern time. They have already had a breakfast fundraiser, a brunch fundraiser, and they're probably in the middle of their cocktail fundraiser, and then they'll go to their dinner fundraiser in just a few minutes. You were not invited to any of them, nor were you able to throw a fundraiser for any of these Mitch McConnells, John Cornyn. You weren't allowed to. You weren't even, you couldn't even get a call through to their office to say, I want to have a fundraiser at my house. And the people that will come to my house, they'll pay $10 a piece to meet you. Oh, haha, we scoff at you and your $10 donation. We're going to go to Charlie Palmer's and we'll raise, $500,000 today. And we'll do it every day. That's what we're trying to get out of government. Because I promise you, whatever your issue is, there is somebody at Charlie Palmer's right now that has a stake in it that is completely opposite of your view. And they will get their way and you will not. And it's just that simple. So HR 1 takes the money, at least makes an attempt to take the money out of politics. It creates a public financing system, so that if a candidate, which many of ours do, say that they will eschew big donors, they will not take PAC money, political action committee money, and anything that ends in PAC is a political action committee, hence the word PAC, right? So they will not take that PAC money from any PAC. If they say that they will not, then we will publicly finance their campaign, and that we, the taxpayers, are amenable to that system because we understand that gives us a place at the table. So if I give $10, the federal government will give them $6 for every dollar I give. So I give $10, we give $60 in federal money. That is worth it. That is worth it. And Kevin McCarthy is very busy defending the lobbyist position, which is, oh, hell no. Do you really want to see tax dollars go to public financing of campaigns? Why, that's closing the door to the rich. It's not closing the door. It's giving us a seat at the table instead of us being constantly on the menu. People can't figure out why this is all happening to them. Why is the General Motors plant closing? Why did it close in Indiana? Why is it? And the president blamed it all on Barack Obama. Barack Obama, he's got hacks. This will not happen under him. I got this. You don't. He doesn't understand. I'm the deal maker. He hasn't made one deal. He left North Korea empty-handed, and I'm sure you saw the news about it. There's two things that you should know about that North Korea summit. While the president was meeting with Kim Jong-un was hacking America, literally hacking us while they were meeting. And number two, we know at least 2 days after the summit, satellite photographs showed Kim Jong-un in his nuclear missile sites. They had like so much construction going on there that it seems to me very hard that construction could have been going on in just 2 days, just have begun 2 days after. It had to be going on during the summit. I mean, you talk about being mocked. We're being mocked by a hermit nation. We have a hermit nation. We have a gulag leader. We have a family, a communist family torturer laughing at the United States and our ethics, our integrity, our position in the world. Laughing at the dishonesty of the American president. That is really quite something. What has this man won?
Mary had a little lamb.
The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America. From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Believe me.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
Hey!
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
President Obama today was interviewed on a show.
Why are you booing him?
I mean, look, honestly, if he did a great job as president, I don't care. If he's a Democrat, Republican, conservative, liberal, I don't care.
He did do a great job.
If he did a great job as president, I would be so happy. And so would you.
Then be happy.
I would be so happy.
Then be happy.
It hasn't worked out that way, okay?
No, hasn't?
It hasn't worked out that way.
Say it again.
We're scoffed at all over the world.
Huh.
We're looked down upon all over the world.
He just makes
We're
stuff
not respected anymore.
Mm-hmm.
We were talking about Putin today. No respect, no like, no nothing. You know, wouldn't it be a great thing if we could actually get along with Russia? Wouldn't that be a good thing? That would be a good thing.
No, it would not.
Not a bad thing. It would be a good thing.
A good thing.
Wouldn't it be a good thing if we could make deals, trade deals
with
China?
oligarchs.
That instead of losing
communists.
hundreds of billions of dollars a year and rebuilding China, the roadways, the airports, you have to see the tunnels, that we did much better than we're doing right now.
Where's your infrastructure
and you know,
package?
I'm a free trader. I believe in it. But you need smart people to make great deals. We don't have the right people. We are being ripped off by every single country we do business with on trade. Every single country we do business with. We have people negotiating our deals that are political hacks. And these are deals that are so big. You know, you could take a mid-sized country, and the trade deals are bigger than these massive deals you read about with corporations. You know, you say, oh, massive deals. These are bigger deals.
What?
There is no bigger deal than our deals with China on trade. But it's a one-way street. They take their product, they flow it in, and by the way, for you steel workers, they dump more steel in this place because they're going to put you out of business. You're already mostly out of business, but they want to put you out of business. We're going to start making things again, folks. We're going to start making things again. That includes steel, but we're going to start making things again.
Where's your infrastructure package, sir? Where is it? He didn't do a damn thing. I mean, he's on a massive losing streak. You know, everything from immigration. Immigration, is ticking up again. All this stuff he did, putting kids in cages and all the, deterrence, and you're going to build a wall and all. It has had the opposite effect, okay? None of it is working. Absolutely none of it. He came home from North Korea empty-handed. We have this new satellite imagery showing us that North Korea was secretly rebuilding a rocket launching site. While he was meeting with Kim Jong-un. It's the sickest thing. The trade deficit is at a 243-year record-setting high. So, while the president is out there going, we did the biggest tax cut in the history of the United States. That is not true, okay? It isn't true, right? Reagan and others have done bigger tax cuts. But what is true, what is at a record high, is the nation's trade deficit. He has no ability to cut a good deal for the United States of America. He has no ability to negotiate anything. He hasn't gotten any legislation that would benefit. Nothing on health care. Remember, we were going to get cheaper, better. It was going to be good. No health care at all. He was going to do infrastructure in the second year because it was so easy. It was so easy that he saved it for this. None of it has happened. None of it. Absolutely none of it. And the Democrats have an infrastructure package, and we want to invest in renewable energy and build a grid and build all kinds of, renewable fuel farms, basically, and invest in the hinterlands, invest in the flyover states, invest in the windy parts of the middle, the prairie lands. I mean, we would like to do that. They won't even take it up. Okay, they won't even bring it up. We would like to have the money out of politics to drain the swamp. Drain the swamp. We want to take what is the swamp and drain it. And that means all this dark money, all this non-disclosure, all these $10 million gifts, the NRA giving $30 million that we don't even know, God knows where it came from. We want to clean it up. He's not interested in that. He says that he redid NAFTA, but NAFTA has never been voted on by Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell won't even bring up his UMSCO, whatever, the USMCA. They won't even bring it up. They don't even want to vote on it. There's no new trade deal because the Republicans won't bring it up in the Senate. He's been having this fight over the wall with Mexico for, 4 years now? Where's the check? Man can't make a deal to save his life. Cannot make a deal to save his life. And I alone can fix it. You can't. You're a terrible negotiator. You're a joke. And they're sitting there, the Republicans, the House, they're just interested in investigations. They're not concerned about legislation. No, you're not concerned about legislation. We are concerned about legislation. We want massive reform of the way that campaigns are financed. That is the heart of the freaking swamp. We passed 2 massive background check bills on guns. We had hearings on the price of prescription drugs. We want to do an infrastructure bill. We want to see a middle-class tax cut. We're all for comprehensive immigration reform, which is what's needed here. But he doesn't want to give the DACA, the dreamers, he doesn't want to give the kids who know no other country but the United States, who have broken no laws ever, because if they did, they'd be out of here. He doesn't want to give them a path. He doesn't even want to put a breadcrumb on the ground for them to follow to citizenship. And that's what stands in the way of immigration reform, comprehensive immigration reform that would help us, that would solve a lot of the problems. Nothing on health care, nothing on campaign financing, nothing on the revolving door where you go, like, what's his name? You know where Don McGahn ended up? Yesterday, found out Don McGahn left the White House, went to Jones Day, went to that law firm that, will defend the president. I mean, it's just so sick. Nothing about pay-go, meaning as you lower taxes for the wealthy, someone's got to pay for it besides for us. Nothing on that. They fund the government for 2 weeks at a time, 3 weeks at a time, a month at a time. They can't even do a deal. He can't even get a deal to fund his own freaking government. And while he's meeting with Kim Jong-un, he's hacking the United States while they're meeting. And we're seeing, satellite images of the missile site.
This is new evidence first obtained by NBC News that North Korea is rapidly rebuilding a key missile site, possibly in preparation for a test. And it comes despite promises from Kim Jong-un to President Trump in Hanoi.
Experts say this commercial satellite image, taken only 48 hours after the collapse of the Hanoi summit, shows North Korea is rebuilding a site for a long-range missile banned by the UN. A missile that could reach all the way to the west coast of the U.S.
Great.
Even as far as Denver or Chicago.
Great.
Contrary to what President Trump says Kim Jong-un told him at the summit.
Chairman Kim promised me last night is regardless, he's not going to do testing of rockets and nuclear. Not going to do testing. So
he doesn't know what he's talking about.
I trust him and I take him at his word. I hope that's true.
For months, the site appeared to be shut down. But 2 days after the summit, new signs of activity. A vertical test engine, a testing stand, a crane, movement on the railway for transporting a missile, indicating North Korea may be getting ready to test for the first time in 15 months, according to one of the authors of a new report.
They basically opened the shutters, the environmental shelters that basically expose the missile pad. So this is not just random maintenance activity. This is clearly activity that is designed to send a message.
So they had their stuff underground, is what he's saying, and now they put it overground so that they opened the shutters so you can see what he's been doing underground. And this is going on while the president is talking to him about, and I take his man his word, and, he's a good guy, and we fell in love. We fell in love. He falls in love with a guy who runs, and his whole country is a gulag. A guy who killed Otto Warmbier, he vouches for. He vouches for Mohammed bin Salman, who murdered a Washington Post reporter, Jamal Khashoggi. He vouched for him, too. Jared gives the list of the people who are in a position in Saudi Arabia to stand against Mohammed bin Salman from taking the throne, and he gives it to them. And then Mohammed bin Salman takes the list, gets the people, puts them in the Ritz-Carlton Hotel, kills one of them, tortures a whole bunch of other ones, and tells them there's a new sheriff in town, and now you're going to give me 50% of your business, just like Russia. This is all oligarchs. These are all oligarchs. This has nothing. I mean, it's so amazing to me. It's so amazing. Now we have this tax cut that was supposed to bring our growth rate to 4 or 5%, pay for itself. Our GDP is 2.3, and we're looking at next quarter in the ones. The deficit is the highest it's ever been. The interest payments on the deficit to China, they hold our debt. The interest payments alone is going to surpass all discretionary spending, the amount that we spend on ourselves. It's going to, just the service of the debt that this man ran up. He can't point to a single thing that he's done that made it better today for you than when he came to office. And all he does is he stands on the stage and he rails against Democrats, right? Democrats are bad. Democrats are hacks. Democrats don't know how to make it. Meanwhile, this guy is a loser. He's an absolute abject loser. He gives credibility to some third-rate, third-world, a gulag owner. He gives he goes and does the sword dance, embracing the freaking Saudi backwards culture. I mean, it's one thing to do business with the Saudis. It's quite another thing to bring your entire cabinet to do the sword dance and embrace the culture of men only in Saudi Arabia and stoning women and, putting them in prisons and having the vice and virtue police follow them around. You know, you don't embrace the culture. You just try and maintain some. I mean, these are the people that attacked us on 9/11, and he's over there doing the sword. It's just so sad. And meanwhile, when Barack Obama was in Cairo and he was saying we can do better in the Muslim world, he was an apologist. But look at the apologies Trump has made.
Show is live on RandiRhodes.com and the free Progressive Voices app for Android and iOS. Visit the App Store or ProgressiveVoices.com now.
The president's entire trade policy is predicated on his belief that trade deficits represent failure. Well, just in, the U.S. trade deficit last year was the worst in a decade, $621 billion, and the overall deficit in goods was the worst in America's 243-year history. Now, the deficit with China, also the worst on record. Now, Trump detests trade deficits. He simplistically sees them as a loss of money from the U.S. to her trading partners. Yet, that number he detests, in his 2 years in office, the trade deficit has swelled by well over $100 million. He has called himself tariff man, but those tariffs brought retaliatory tariffs that made U.S. exports more expensive. Another uncomfortable number for the White House, the budget deficit soared 77% in the first 4 months of the year to $310 billion. The deficit ballooned as the government spent way more on the military, Veterans Affairs, and interest on the debt. And tax cuts mean the Treasury is taking in less money. Tax revenue down 1.5% over the past 12 months. White House economic advisor Larry Kudlow downplayed those numbers.
We are making an investment in America's future. It's already beginning to pay off. And if that means we incur some additional debt in the short run, so be it.
The White House view is huge corporate tax cuts would supercharge economic growth, enough to rein in the deficit. But that hasn't happened. Economic growth last year came in just around the president's 3% official goal and well below the 4 and even 5% growth he often promised. Now, the Congressional Budget Office estimates the deficit will reach roughly $900 billion this year. An aging American population will drive up Medicare and Social Security costs sharply in coming years. Within a decade, John, interest payments on the national debt will be larger than discretionary spending.
Great. He's such a good deal maker, that one. Oh, he's awesome. I loves me some Trump. All right, Wendy in Canada.
Hey there, Randy. How you doing today?
Good. How you?
I'm making it.
Good.
Listen, you touched on it a while ago, and I think this is where it's going to make the big break with these MAGA hat wearing folk. Is where when they go to, it's coming up on tax season in just a few more days. And when they go to file and find out they can't deduct what they deducted all of their all adult life, they are going to be mad. And then when you combine in everything else, the kids in the White House getting security passes they shouldn't have.
Yeah.
Him.
Why isn't the Senate?
Public.
I just want to know why the Senate is not interested in the fact that his kids got security clearances over the objection of the intelligence community and law enforcement. Why are they not interested in the national security of the United States?
They don't want to work, period. They never have.
It's more than that. It's more than that. It's much, much more than that. They are covering for this president because they want the system to stay exactly as is. They like the lobbyists coming to their offices, and they like those fundraisers every morning that the lobbyists are giving them. They like the dark money that comes rolling in. They like the fact that people are purged from voter rolls. They like the fact that the Supreme Court says that we don't have racism in this country anymore. Therefore, we don't need pre-clearance rules, and you can close as many polling places as you want ahead of an election, and you could change the voter ID. You could say in Texas that a gun license is valid ID, but a student ID is not. They like it like this.
Yes, they do.
They're protecting their turf. And God only knows if they really have dirty hands when it comes to knowing that when they went to Russia with the NRA, that the NRA was going to turn around and funnel money, illegal money, foreign money, which is the only campaign finance law we still have, that they were going to take that money. I mean, Mitch McConnell is a dog. He is an absolute dog. He does not want to vote on any legislation that would drain the swamp, that would allow.
I've been saying that for a long time. Mitch McConnell is the most dangerous man in Washington.
He is. He absolutely is.
And has been for a long time. He's evil, corrupt. You do know his wife works for
Of course I know.
Right?
Of course I know. She's the Secretary of Transportation. You would think that there would be an infrastructure package by now. But oh no. Because, that costs money and it would benefit the people. And Mitch McConnell isn't about that. Mitch McConnell is about Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell is about protecting, a nice lobby job after he leaves the Senate. Mitch McConnell is about being the head of a law firm or, the head of a Greenberg Traug, which is the largest lobby shop there is. That's what he's got.
The best thing the Democrats could do is to try to get somebody to primary Mitch. He is the worst.
He is the worst. There's no question. I don't even think he's going to run in 2020, personally.
You don't think so? I think he will because he likes it. As long as Donald's in there, he'll run. I really think he will.
Well, we'll see. We'll see because this man has done absolutely nothing. I don't think the people of Kentucky are buying what he's selling anymore. I could be wrong, but I don't think they are.
Yeah. We'll see.
I think that they really responded to this populist message of Donald Trump's, where he said he was going to drain the swamp and bring them jobs and cut the trade deficit and make good deals. None of that has happened or will happen.
Absolutely.
And I think people are seeing it. I mean, there's a Quinnipiac poll out today. 64% of the American people think that this president either committed crimes before he was president or has committed crimes while he was president.
What I don't get is why they didn't see that beforehand.
Yeah, that's true too.
I mean, seriously, I don't know how many snakes you need to bite you before you try to get out of the pit.
I don't know either. I'm not sure how many bites they want. I mean, some of them handle snakes very well, but this one is, This is an anaconda. I don't understand why they went for this whole P.T. Barnum routine of his.
I don't either, and I'm waiting to see if the Republicans, because there's so many of them up for re-election in the Senate.
Yeah.
I want to see what happens with that in the 2020. I really do.
And the Senate matters. Right now they're confirming. This is what the Senate really wants right now. This is what Mitch McConnell really wants. He wants friendly judges all throughout the system so that when he becomes a lobbyist, he will have a easy road ahead, right? And he can accomplish everything for his law partners. This is what Mitch McConnell wants. And so right now, you got this girl who is actively part of they're a hate group, an anti-LGBT hate group being confirmed for the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals. I was in the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals. I had a case that I won. The people who lost appealed it. The Fourth Circuit is the most conservative circuit we have, and we don't need anybody. I mean, she was the one that did the Masterpiece Cake Shop thing, right? This is who it is. I mean, this is what Mitch McConnell wants. It's what Mitch McConnell is all about. He has nothing. He has no connection to the people of Kentucky or their lives or the Purdue Pharma and what they wrought or the Oxycontin. This is what I'm talking about. The drug scourge. I mean, they have nothing as far as feelings toward the things that everybody's living with every single day. They think they're in a bubble. They live in a different world. And Mitch McConnell is the swampiest of the swamp creatures. He even looks like a freaking turtle, okay? He looks like he belongs in a swamp. He's like one of those big box turtles in the Galapagos Islands. And we should make him, as rare in the world as the box turtles in the Galapagos Islands are. Anthony in Denver. Anthony in Denver.
Hi, Randy. Anthony here. It's a real pleasure to talk with you. I've been listening to you since you were back in the Air America days, so quite a ways back. Something you may be of interest to you. I'm a pilot. I was flying for a major airline, and back in your Air America days, I used to turn the ADF in so I could bounce from radio to radio as I was flying across the country listening to you while I was doing my... So anyway, I wanted to get to a topic that you've been covering, but I think there's a little bit more of a sinister aspect to the payoff and the payola that's going on with the Republicans and what is happening. And it entails, when I was speaking with your
Scotty.
clearance person, yeah, thank you, and about Jared Kushner, and I think it dovetails into a lot of things, but the reason Jared was given that clearance was he's there to sell secrets, but primarily nuclear secrets to the Saudis. And I think there's a much more sinister aspect to what's going on. That's part of what Mike Flynn is embroiled in, selling nuclear secrets to the Saudis because their goal is to get nuclear armaments. We know Israel already has nuclear armaments, and I think this is all being brought about to eventually follow through with the neocon prescription of going to war with Iran, and that's the end game on this. I think I don't remember the new congresswoman who is taking all the flack for anti-Semitic.
Ilhan Omar.
Thank you very much. I don't believe that it is an anti-Semitic issue that we really need to be concerned with. I think it's a Zionist issue that we need to be concerned with. And there's an aspect of Israeli society that, or government primarily, and I think Zionism really is the thing that is driving a lot of the Netanyahu agenda. I think that's what's pairing them up with the Saudis at this
Well,
point
I think
in time.
words matter here. So it's not Zionism. Zionism is just the belief that Jews can't live safely in any place that's not a Jewish homeland. That's what Zionism is. What you're talking about is a right-wing Likud party, warmongering, hawkish foreign policy. And, it's very possible that, it's true that Benjamin Netanyahu he's about to be indicted for also criminal activity there. That him and Trump and Jared and all, that they're all in this, this thing together. And the only reason why the conservatives support it is because there's this really wackadoodle, Armageddon-ish, end times Christian thing that permeates through the Republican Party, that all the Jews have to go back to Israel. Because once we're all there, then we can be killed nice and neat, and then the Messiah will come back and you'll have, the rapture. This is a very...
You'll have your conversion.
Yes, yes. And like I said,
exactly.
That's why I wear cute shoes all the time, because when the rapture comes, all that's going to be left is my shoes. So make sure yours are very, very attractive and cute. Right now I'm into, boots and Vans, whatever.
Yeah, well,
right.
Yeah, my footwear is also appropriate as
Footwear
well.
needs to be appropriate. But, look, here's the deal. Zionism is not a bad word. Zionism is just, it's a belief that Judaism is a nationality and it's a religion. And that Jews cannot live safely around the world because we're always being killed. That is true. That is the history. I mean, you have 1 billion Muslims in the world. You have 1 billion Christians in the world. You have 1 billion Hindus in the world, 1 billion Shintos and Buddhists. And, everybody's free. Everybody's free to work. But for some reason, you only have 15 million Jews left on this planet. And so to say that there shouldn't be a safe place or a national place or a place where, Jews can go when the crap hits the fan, that's kind of... negative. I wouldn't go that far. But what they're doing to Ilhan Omar is trying to get her to understand that if she's going to take on a political action committee like AIPAC, she really needs to start with something easier, something better understood. Like the NRA.
I would agree with that.
Right.
Yeah. Well, in the NRA, that's all the North thing, and we know that he has some blood on his hands.
Right.
From his years as a Contra.
The thing about Israel is the Israelis don't agree what their government should look like, just like Americans don't agree what their government should look like. But
I would agree with that.
It's true.
But unfortunately, I've been there several times through work, and they are. It's a fabulous place. but I also see the reservation and the Palestinians being the Indians of the Middle East.
There's definitely a disagreement in Israel about, how their government should look and what politics ought to include. And right now, you've got a right-wing Likud party that has dominated the policy of Israel for 10 years. I mean, that's how long Bebe has been there. It's 10 years he's been president. Prime Minister. It's enough already. The idea that we can't solve this problem is a ridiculous idea. And Donald Trump went about it exactly backwards. He thought, I'll just open up an old building that was always there, and I'll say we brought the embassy to Jerusalem, and there we're done. I mean, and then
without any understanding of the
right. I mean, he doesn't get it. I know who Jared's rabbi is, and I understand why Jared thinks it's cool to sell secrets to the Saudis. I get it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's great talking with you, and hope not to be another 15 years before I talk again.
Yeah, don't do that.
Cheers.
All right, you too. David in North Miami Beach.
Randy, my queen.
David, my supplicant.
My first-time caller.
Oh, no. Oh, wow. Wait.
Bless you.
Love you.
Yeah, we miss you on WINZ. I've been listening since, 04?
I was
Good
never
time.
on WINZ, but that's okay. I was on WIOD.
Well, yes, ma'am. Anyway, as a...
I think
someone who
WINZ actually plays NASCAR for blind people. I really do.
Now they do.
Yeah, I was never on that stage, but I do believe that they decided that really good programming would be running NASCAR on the radio for that large segment of the population that's blind. I don't know.
Instead of Stephanie Miller and Friends.
Right,
exactly.
right. Instead of a decent lineup of entertainment.
Precisely. So as someone with a 25-year-old history degree in a state where there's no history teachers, I want to thank you for your opening of how the car factory is being shut down, and there's an oil glut, so people aren't driving sedans anymore. It's like you were describing the movie Roger and Me, with the factory shutting down despite profits, but also the oil glut of '86. Like, here we are again, but we don't learn what to do when things look good, but it's just a bubble.
Well, look, here's the thing. The future looks like this. The oil petrol states, the oligarchs, okay, the Saudis, the Russia is a petrol state. Saudi is a petrol state. Iran is a petrol state. I mean, all these issues in the world about, Venezuela also, and the Russians just bought all the oil in Venezuela. I mean, it's just very simple. The answer is to make what those countries have worthless.
And one way to do that is you turn off the $5 trillion in carbon subsidies we throw at them.
Yes. You're welcome. For the life of me, I do not understand why Americans are down with, and this is all lobbied stuff, right? The subsidies. We pay trillion-dollar corporations like Amazon, right? They were going to get subsidized to move to New York. Really? Why do we subsidize the most successful, profitable businesses on the freaking planet? The oil companies. Amazon is what? They don't need a subsidy. They need an educated, workforce with good, infrastructure. That's how you lure a company to your area. I mean, this idea that we come out of pocket all the time and a job ends up costing us $195,000 each for some guy to make 27.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
For the record, Madam Secretary, are we still using cages for children?
Oh, my God.
Sir, we don't use cages for children. In the border facilities that you've been to, they were not made to detain children. As the children are processed through, they are in subparts of those facilities.
Madam
I don't.
Secretary?
Yes, I'm being as clear as I can, sir. Respectfully, I'm trying to answer your question.
Yes or no, are we still putting children in cages.
To my knowledge, CBP never purposely put a child in a cage, if you mean a cage like this.
Purposely or whatever, are we putting children in cages as of today?
Children are processed at the border facility stations that you've been at. Some of the
And I've seen the cages. I just want you to admit that the cages exist.
Sir, they're not cages.
What are they?
Areas of the border facility that are carved out for the safety and protection of those who remain there while they're being processed. If we have two gangs, we separate them into separate areas of that facility.
No.
We have a father and daughter, we separate that from another son.
We're not going to go through the semantics. Now, I saw the cyclone fences that were made as cages, and you did too. All you have to do is admit it. If it's a bad policy, then change it. But don't mislead the committee.
Sir, they're not cages.
What are they?
Areas of the border facility that are carved out for the safety and protection of those who remain there while they're being processed.
Away from their parents, who we separated. And now we're finding out that, you know, back in June, we had a judge named Dana Sabrow, and he said that we have to stop separating the parents and the children and stop deporting the parents without their children. And we found out that hundreds of those children had a parent who had been deported, and that more than 2,800 children were separated from their parents crossing the border. Hundreds of those 2,800 children who were separated from their parents at the border, 471 to be exact, are still here in cages without their parents. And their parents were given absolutely no choice to take their children or to leave them. And she lied so hard yesterday about this sensitive issue. And it's all because this president, these Republicans, will not do comprehensive immigration reform, period, end of story. And you remember those meetings. They had meetings where Dianne Feinstein was there and Kevin McCarthy was there. And the president of the United States sat there and told Dianne Feinstein, yeah, we could take care of the DACA kids first. Let's do a clean DACA bill. Everybody remember that? Don't make me play it because it was long. It was a clean DACA bill. We could take care of that first. And Kevin McCarthy tried to go, no, sir. No, sir, you don't understand. That's our leverage. We're holding these DACA kids hostage. The dreamers are our leverage. What you want to do is send a deterrent message. What you want to do is punish, right? And Kirstjen Nielsen decided to lie yesterday again because, you know, remember, Donald Trump got really, really peeved with Kirstjen Nielsen because immigration at the border was up under Kirstjen Nielsen's command. And he was really furious, and he wanted her to separate women and children. And she didn't want to do it, so she said. But she did. And then she denied that she was doing it or that there was a policy of separation. And then Trump was good with her, even though immigration is up again, because his policies don't work on any level for any issue that you care about. That's what we spent today showing you. So now she knows all she can do is defend a policy she said doesn't exist.
A policy that separates babies from their mothers, places them in cages. I was at the border. I saw those babies locked up on top of each other. We would not treat animals. The Humane Society wouldn't allow it, the way those babies were treated. Madam Secretary, they are victims. You have all of these vacancies in part because a good many people don't want to be a part of that kind of circumstance. They're victims too. The children are victims, and the people who are forced to do what they are doing to these babies are victims too. Mm-hmm. Madam Secretary, here is the problem. We have surpassed our color quota. There are those who believe that we already have too many people of color in this country. And these, one of whom happens to be the President of the United States of America, would institute policies that will prevent people of color from coming to this country. White babies would not be treated the way these babies of color are being treated, Madam Secretary. This is about color. We've opened our doors. You're tired, you're poor. Huddled masses yearning to breathe free. Except we now have our quota of people of color. I'll yield back the balance of my time.
You know, he's not really wrong. It sounds hard for white people to hear that, but it's very true in this way. Who make up the lion's share of people in this country without documents, legal documents, documents that give them permission to be here, permission to work here, permission to live here, buy here, sell here? Who? What group? The answer is Canadians. I like me a Canadian. They're nice and pasty white. They make me look good, you know? I mean, they make me look like, I just got out of a tanning salon. So welcome, Canadians. But the lion's share of undocumented immigrants in this country are Canadians. The largest group of people here without documents are people who are here on expired visas, visa overstays. If the president was very concerned about a group of people who are here undocumented, then he would be doing something, talking about something, doing something, agitating for something to be done about visa overstays. But he isn't. He isn't. He started his campaign by saying Mexicans are rapists, Mexicans are drug dealers. There's my African American. Look at my African American. Black people, what do you have to lose? Nazis, some of them are fine people. We all know the character of this president. We all know what this president thinks about the Central Park Five. Guilty. Well, they were innocent. But he took out a full-page, $100,000 ad in the New York Times calling for the death penalty for 5 guys who didn't do it, who were exonerated once we had DNA as an accepted science in a court. Wasn't them. He still wouldn't take it back. That was during the campaign when it was pointed out to the President of the United States that the Central Park Five were innocent by virtue of DNA evidence. It exonerated them, exculpated them. And they were released from jail, and the president still said he thought they should get the death penalty. Why? Because he comes from a family that refuses to rent to black people. It is the environment in which he was raised. This man was a handful when he was a child. That is why his high school, a military school, literally buried his high school records, where he said he was a top student. But they won't let you see his records because he was probably a loser then too. Okay, but this president sells all this, I'm brilliant, I was a top dog, I was a top student, only I can fix it, I'm the one that you would have been waiting for, I understand, I'm as racist as you, I have the same feelings about brown people and black people that you do, I'm your guy. He sells that to them. He sells that to them so he can enrich himself. He sells that to them so he can cheat. He sells that to them so that he can get away with lawlessness and writing checks to, dirty lawyers in the Oval Office. And the Senate isn't the least bit interested because they saw it work. They think racism is the issue of the day. They think racism is the way to sell to the American people the fact that they steal, the fact that they are the swamp, the fact that they are bought and paid for, the fact that they will always be bought and paid for. And there is not a piece of legislation that would reverse that tide that they would vote for, debate, introduce, explore, or even read. That is just a fact. And they like that he sells it through this base instinct to go to the lowest common denominator, which is to blame the person who's newer to this country than you are. It's a ridiculous thing. It will never produce anything worthwhile. I always tell you, you have to look up, because that's where, you're getting urinated on from. It comes from on high. It doesn't come from below you. I don't know anybody that urinates on you from below you. I've never seen a video like that. Somebody will have to show me if that actually can occur. In defiance of gravity and porn. Because I don't think it exists. But, here you have a judge in San Diego ordering the government to reunify these separated families who have only been attacked because they're brown and because they don't speak English. That's another big thing, right? And so they've been ordered over there at Homeland Security to reunify these separated families, these 2,800 children that were separated from their parents crossing the border. The ACLU is the lead dog on this case. They, Lee Gallant, who is an amazing guy, I got to say, he led the effort to locate the deported parents outside the United States to let them know that their children were still alive and in U.S. custody. And, they did have the ability to decide what happened to their own children. Do you want your children to come home to you? Do you want your children to stay so that they can live another day? Because we understand you live in the murder capital of the Northern Hemisphere. But that was back in June of 2018. And they still cannot account for at least just close to 500 children. And so yesterday they were asking Kirstjen Nielsen, what are you doing to locate these parents? What are you doing? Why are you doing that? Why are you separating women and children? It's right out of Schindler's List. I mean, and if anybody wants to understand why people are so sensitive about the issue of the religion of Jewishness, it is because we've been hunted in every country you can possibly say. We've been hunted in Russia. We've been hunted in Poland. We've been hunted in Germany. We've been hunted in Belarus. We've been hunted in Ukraine. We've been hunted. And so we need a place to go. We need a place where we are safe. There's only 15 million. In the United States, only 1% of the population is Jewish. Okay? So you'll have to understand that we are an endangered species and that we are fighting just like you fight for the gray wolf, just like you fight for the spotted owl. But this woman doesn't understand that this Nazi tactic of separating women and children is ugly and that it comes with trauma that lasts a lifetime.
So I just want to quickly say that the AG memo that was issued directed all U.S. attorney offices along the southwest border to prosecute all adults who were referred for prosecution. That's what it did.
That's a policy. But that is a policy.
Not as you described it,
Madam Secretary, that is a policy. When you knew that policy was going to result in children having to be taken away from their parents. That's a policy. You should admit it.
The consequence of any adult going to jail in this country is they're separated from their child. That wasn't the point of it. The point was to increase prosecutions for those breaking the law and not exempt any class of aliens.
Yeah, that's a lie, because I think we've all learned throughout this immigration debate that asylum seekers are permitted into the United States. They are permitted to make a case. They are permitted to be heard. That's number one. And these people are seeking asylum. And the other thing that I hope you learned is that border crossing, border jumping, whatever you want to call it, is a civil offense. It's not a crime. It's not. It's a jaywalking thing. It's a traffic ticket. Look, if the president was interested in people being here without documents, A, he wouldn't hire them in all his golf clubs and aid and abet them into, when they need better documents to forge, right? He wouldn't do that. Number two, he would go after all those criminal Canadians who are here on visa overstays, all those criminal models that he had at his modeling agency, all those criminal models who worked for the Trump modeling agency without work visas, right? Right. Buy a stinking podcast.